Hello, BookTube. I know what you're thinking right now. Didn't I just see a video from David? You're right, you did. And this is another one. And that's because I happen to have today off. And so, in addition to doing some of my other more responsible things, like spending time with the kids and doing my teaching stuff and getting all of that in order, I wanted to also take a little bit of time to do some stuff for myself. And that involved this morning watching a couple of BookTube videos. And one in particular stood out to me. A video by Michael K. Vaughan, where he showed the contents of his very first vintage science fiction box that he's committed to read. And that got me thinking, because Michael, in all of the best ways, is a bad influence on me. So I had some ideas I kicked around instantly. Well, maybe I could watch for another cheap box on eBay and bid on that and have that be my box, and I'll open it and I'll commit to read all of those. I realized, I've got enough books on my shelf right now. I don't need to actively go find more. I could do it with what I have. So then I thought, well, I'll just go randomly pull some vintage science fiction books and throw them onto the shelf. I was planning on, clearing a shelf right there and having just one full shelf be the project that I'm going to undergo. But the more I got to thinking about it, the more I liked the idea that I landed on, which is what I'm going to share with you right now. In all seriousness, Michael has been the most steadfast, consistent supporter of my channel since almost its inception. And I can't thank him enough. Without his support, without his comments, without his, mentioning my channel frequently, all of that, I don't know that I would have been making videos this long. He's a big part of this community, and he is an important part of this community for me. And I'm sure I'm not the only one. If you don't know Michael K. Vaughan, I'm sure you probably do. I've got 500 subscribers. He's got 11,000. So if you're subscribed to me, you probably already are subscribed to him, but I'll have his channel down below. In case you're not, please go check his channel out. It's fantastic. He's charismatic, entertaining, and just a whole lot of fun to talk to and interact with. And over the course of my time on BookTube, I've received, I believe, by my count, 3 different packages from the stately Vaughan Manor. I've read some volumes out of each of those, but I haven't gotten anywhere close to finishing any of them. And so that's where this project comes in. I am going to be reading the books that he has sent me. Now, like Michael, I'm not going to exclusively read these books. I'll still have other things I might be reading, especially since I'm very much into a mood reader mindset lately. But I will try to commit to reading at least one of these each and every month and talking about it. And so a couple of them I've already read last year and passed on to another good home. Time Out of Joint by Philip K. Dick was in the very first package. I read that last year and enjoyed it. Wouldn't recommend it as a person's first Philip K. Dick book, but definitely an enjoyable one if you are familiar with his writings already, but haven't read that. I do recommend that one. And so let's just go through some of the other stuff that has come my way. We have City by Clifford D. Simak, which is the most recent one of this collection that he sent me that I have finished and absolutely enjoyed this. Fantastic book. Strong contender for my favorite book of this month. If I was doing one of those Jeremy Fee book battles, it would probably make the finals. The Good Old Stuff by Gardner Dozois, edited by Gardner Dozois. This is adventure science fiction in the grand tradition. It's fantastic stories in here. Lots and lots of just good old action adventure in a science fiction setting. And I'm still watching, not very actively, but I've still got half an eye open, watching for the good new stuff and a really good deal on the companion anthology to this one because I enjoyed this that much. It was fantastic. So we have, last year I read Princess of Mars, The Gods of Mars, Tarzan of the Apes, and The Return of Tarzan, all by Edgar Rice Burroughs. And last month, for Garbogust, I read The Monster Men by Edgar Rice Burroughs. And I've enjoyed all of my Edgar Rice Burroughs that I've read so far. And my very first box had that Philip K. Dick novel as a random one thrown in, but the vast, vast majority was Tarzan and Barsoom and other novels by Edgar Rice Burroughs. In fact, that whole shelf that you see right there at the top there, that's all Edgar Rice Burroughs. And I'd say 97% of them came from Michael. I think I had 5 Tarzan books that I'd picked up locally from somebody that was selling them on why can't I think of the name of it? There was a sales site, Craigslist. And so since he had been talking about Tarzan and whatnot, it caught my attention. And so for $5, I picked up the 5 books and told Michael that, hey, I found these. I'm excited to read them. What would you recommend? And then he sent me a whole box that finished out the Tarzan and the Barsoom collection for me, along with a couple other volumes. So that's what started his generosity to me. And I need to get back to reading those. I have enjoyed them tremendously. I'm probably going to, instead of bouncing back and forth between them, just plow through on the Barsooms first, then hit all of the other side novels, and then finish with the 22 other volumes of Tarzan that need to be read. And so I'm gonna attempt. Don't hold me to this. I'm gonna attempt to do a Burroughs each month, along with one of other, because I've got that much Burroughs that I could probably do that and still be on pace with the 2 of them. I think that'd be an extremely good reading month. I read Almuric by Robert E. Howard and Sword and Sorcery in Space, and it is wonderful. This was exactly the read I needed at the time to break me out of a reading slump. Sounds like I'm probably due to read some more Robert E. Howard, and it's a good thing that I've got The Coming of Conan the Cimmerian, The Bloody Crown of Conan, and The Conquering Sword of Conan. Now, he did not gift me these, but he did gift me an Essential Conan, which got me looking at Conan in the first place. And when I found the 3 of these and saw that all 3 of the stories in the Essential Conan were contained inside of these, I was generous and gifted that Essential Conan to somebody else, because they had been replaced by what I would probably say is something even better. So I've got 2 of those volumes I desperately need to read, and I'll probably pick one of those up soon. And that was the last of what came in that Edgar Rice Burroughs box, was that Essential Conan. The second box he sent me had some Marvel Epic collections. Last year I read The Coming of Conan, which is Volume 1, and enjoyed it tremendously. At the beginning of this year, I read Hawks from the Sea, which is the 2nd volume in their Epic collection line. So I still need to get around to The Curse of the Golden Skull, which is Volume 3. I've been enjoying a lot of other graphic novels lately, and it's high time I circle back to Conan, because I do absolutely enjoy it. And he also sent me Conan the Barbarian, which is the 2019 re-release of Conan on the Marvel line. And I'm excited to get to this one after that Epic collection. And then the latest box that he sent me was the one that had City. It had Almuric in it. It had the Grand Old Stuff. And then all of these books that I still haven't gotten around to yet. By Snatchers by Jack Finney. We've got The Metal Monster by A. Merritt. The Deep Range by Arthur C. Clarke, which I still haven't read Arthur C. Clarke. And that video where I opened the box. I made that comment. I haven't read anything by Arthur C. Clarke. I probably need to do that. I'm glad I have this. I still haven't done it. Gulliver of Mars by Edwin Arnold. We got Prince of Peril by Otis Adelbert Klein. And Planet of Peril. Mind Swap by Robert Sheckley. Matrix by Douglas R. Mason. The Rest Must Die by Richard Foster. We got Sargasso by Edwin Corley. We got the book about me, Those Idiots from Earth by Richard Wilson. The one that I'm probably going to pick up next, The Day of the Triffids by John Wyndham. So I'm going to set this in a separate pile so that I just take that upstairs with me. I'm going to just start diving into that today because I'm going to give myself a little bit of reading time yet today too. And I think I'm going to crack that open instead of circling back to the other two books I'm currently reading, which I talked about in my last video. Battlestar Galactica. Another Simic, Time and Again. Crashing Suns by Edmund Hamilton. The Midwich Cuckoos by John Wyndham. The Radio Planet by Ralph Milne Farnley. A Martian Odyssey and Other Great Science Fiction Stories by Stanley Weinbaum. Quest of Three Worlds by Cordwainer Smith, which, again, in that video I said, I really need to read this because I haven't read anything Cordwainer Smith. That's still true. And then Childhood's End, again, by Arthur C. Clarke. So there's everything that Michael has sent me. And those are all going on the shelf. And I'm adding 2 more things onto this shelf. Both of them inspired by Michael. The first one, I don't think this is still something he's actively doing. But he might be. And I might be surprised by this. But back when he did this, read every author by, he did a read every comic spin as well. And he got the X-Men. And so I recently picked up Essential X-Men Volume 3. So this is issues 145 through 161 of the Uncanny X-Men. And then annuals 3 through 5. The unfortunate thing is these are all just black and white on stock paper. The good news is I paid about $6 for this. So, I mean, that's less than half of what its retail price is for. And it'll suit my needs right now. I actually read issue 145 last night and absolutely enjoyed my time with it. And I'm excited to continue reading in this. Because it's got my favorite comic book character right there, Shadowcat. Kitty Pryde, Sprite. She goes by a couple different names. So far, she's still just Kitty Pryde or Sprite. But eventually, she will go and have a mini-series with that guy and get the name Shadowcat. And then, of course, I can't talk about books inspired by Michael K. Vaughan without bringing up this, the Landmark Herodotus. Not necessarily the Landmark, you can ignore Landmark, but Herodotus, the histories. This is a biggie, but it's that important to me that I'm going to read this, and I'm going to read this one this year. This was on my a previous video where it was why I haven't read these books yet. This is one of those 6 that I held up. So far I've read 1 out of the 6. I've started reading 2 others just in the last week. I, Claudius. And then, I'm trying. Why am I drawing a blank? It's the Andy Weir book, The Martian. So this goes right along in there. The Conan volumes were also on that. So I'm rounding out most of those books just from this project. And so those will probably be the ones I'm hitting earlier rather than later in this year. And my plan, again, is 1, maybe 2 a month is what I'm going to try to shoot for. And I will finish long before Michael gets through all of his vintage science fiction, hopefully. Because unlike him, because he's got Roger, who's, we all know, is going to continue to fill more boxes, even after this last box that he's going to be filling. My collection from Michael K. Vaughan is not growing. So I have a defined end point on where this is going to come to its conclusion. And at that point in time, I will be ready to move on to some of the other stuff, which I'll still be dabbling through as we go through. So there you have it. There is my Michael K. Vaughan inspired project. And I'm going to take up with me the Day of the Triffids. I'm going to start reading this today. And we'll see how far I get into it. I might try to finish this by the end of the week. I theoretically could squeeze it in this month. I doubt that. I haven't had that kind of reading time, but you never know. So, thank you again, Michael. I can't say that enough. You have been a genuine inspiration, and this project is 100% me saying yet again, thank you. I wouldn't be doing this still without you. And so I want to make sure I prioritize the things that you've been kind enough to bless me with. And so I'm going to do that. I'm going to make this my big reading project and absolutely have a good time with it. So thank you for watching. I will catch you later, and have a good day, BookTube.